Hello. Hello.
Right.
Hello.
Hello, I'm here too.
Patrick,
Sam, do you hear us? Do you hear me?
Patrick, do you have the slide to share?
I have, yes, I'll bring it straight up.
Great.
There we are.
I'll be back in a moment.
Okay. So, folks, these are the questions that we've been put together to examine. Online Bridge is different, and I think we recognise that from Bridge as we knew it face to face. So there's a number of things change. A number of things you can do right and a number of things you can do wrong. And what we want to do really is talk through, examine what all those different things are. Does the list of questions, have you seen this list of questions already? Have you got some sense that to make they're a good starting point for us? It doesn't stop us talking about anything else, but we do want to make sure we cover these. That sound okay?
Yeah.
In which case, I'll take them off the screen so we can see each other. You'll have to unmute yourself in order to engage. But unless somebody's got a better idea, what we'll do is we'll just step through these questions in turn and try and pick up some thoughts on them, and then we can look back afterwards and review them and see what other things we want to bring up as well. I can't, of course, see any of you. I just get because you all seem to have your cameras off, but I guess we'll have to survive that. Let me put up the first question here in the chat so that you've got a sight of it as we do talk.
Am I visible?
Right. Now, there was a request that somebody takes some notes from this session, so that we can feed back to the plenary session at the end. Is anybody willing to volunteer to do that? Of course, because I can't see you, I can't see who's volunteering. You might have to volunteer in the chat. We need somebody to make some notes, and we need somebody to talk to the topic when we finish. Are you all there? Oh, right. Hi, Milan.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so
Well, I
Milan,
see my picture. Does anybody hear me?
I can hear you, Milan.
Okay. Well, so if you don't mind, then I can just sum up a little bit of my experience from the Czech Republic Federation, and also myself, since I'm being a coach and doing a lot of things like online during the pandemic, but also in between. For the questions which were raised, the availability at home, I just have my practice now training the juniors, and we had to move online, which is both benefits and downsides. But now we have a bigger group. What are the issues? Are that since everybody is locked down, including the small kids, if the schools are closed in our case, which happened to be for several months, then not all the families are ready for their home setup. For example, if they have just 2 or even 3 rooms like flats, being forced to work from home for the adults, and for the kids to sit in front of the computer and talk or just do the interaction, having in background babies and animals and stuff, this is just hugely challenging. So I don't think that for the purpose of being live or face-to-face and online, you can do exactly the same thing while being stuck at home. So
You can't do the
very,
same.
very tough for most of the families, I think, in many countries, unless you might be retired, have your own room, have an office or something. Then I think online might be better even for discussions and learnings, because that just saves the time.
So the one thing that struck me, and I mean, others must say, if it fact of kind of interruptions you get, you have to be, in a sense, takes away some of the game. And reminds you the fact that this is a game that the 100% concentration that people see when they walk into a bridge club, and which puts off newcomers because it's all so serious when you walk into a bridge club. The fact that you have these interruptions makes you realise that this is part of normal life, and it's a game, and maybe I don't know. I feel I can get into it more easily that way. Does that make sense?
For me, sorry, I was not hearing half of the things what you have said. So,
all right. So the question is whether the fact of interruptions and the fact that it's a less tightly controlled environment actually makes it more appealing as a game rather than as an over-competitive, serious pastime.
well, I think in general you have to divide people like in the groups why they are playing bridge. You cannot just generalize it that for some people you just have an online bridge, which might be just for training or for social, but then there are competitive players, and for them concentration is very important. And if you are sitting at the table, then on the top level you might have like naked women dancing behind, and those competitive players focused in the zone will not even notice what is happening around because they just hold their cards and just focus on the game. While at home, well, very often for me, I just play a side game or watch TV, eat during the play, or just have something in the background which is very distracting the game and the concentration. So not a problem probably for social, but for a competitive bridge, it's definitely tough.
Right. Okay. Let me move on to the second question on the list. And hey, welcome anybody to pick up on this. I'll just put it in the chat. Right. So, and the thing is really that it's almost like the human behaviour, the etiquette that goes with playing the game. Any sense as to how that's different? If that's different, if it's a good difference between the online game and the face-to-face game? Anybody like to jump in there?
Can I be heard, or?
Yes, you are. Tell us who you are, because we can't tell from.
Right. And it might appear as AB. I'm Julian Laderman from New York City.
Okay.
And I'm involved very seriously in the culture of bridge. I've written 6 bridge books. And one advantage, surprisingly, I feel bridge loses a lot of new players because people call for the director when there's a delay in the play. They feel, and beginners are very insulted. They feel like they're being accused of cheating when they're just thinking, and it's very uncomfortable. One advantage of bridge online, an odd advantage, is you don't know whether somebody's getting the delivery at their door or they're having an argument with their spouse. Whatever, you can't read in and assume why is somebody taking so long. So one learns less from their partners' mannerisms, hesitations, and tanking than they do in in-person bridge, which is one of the advantages. Of course, there are many great disadvantages, but.
So, but I mean, one of the things that we have witnessed in a number of bridge clubs in the pandemic is the fact that newcomers are much more willing to mix with regular long-term bridge players when they're playing online, where they were always fearsome of walking into that section at the bridge club in the face-to-face days. Do you think that's part of, is sort of related to this? I mean, it's illustrating the fact that the behaviours that were putting people off in the face-to-face game just aren't there in the online game?
I definitely feel it's a little less intimidating for people, and because it's a little less personal, which both has advantages and disadvantages.
So one of the things that to me fell under this question was the attitude to correcting mistakes and being willing to accept an undo when somebody online requests it, and how that differs from the attitude that you would find in the bridge club, that if you made the smallest mistake, somebody will sometimes jump on you and make sure you're penalised to the maximum extent because of it. Do we think the fact that I guess it's the increased culture for undos online is actually a good thing for the game?
We, in terms of undo or misclicks, that we lack. We're not in ACBL events. When I play in international events, people say, "Oh, I misclicked," and handled it that way. But one big plus online is just the analysis of hands after it.
Absolutely, it's a big plus. You're right. So come on. Anybody else want to chip in any thoughts on as to how they feel it's changed when they've been playing online compared to the face-to-face? Do you feel people behave differently?
I'd like. Can I say?
You are. Who is it?
So, Kath Whidden from Sydney, Australia.
Right. Yeah.
We have a fairly large club face-to-face. Well, I don't know if it's large internationally. We have about 650 members, very strong teaching, a lot of beginners, novices, people moving through, plus a small but solid open competitive group. When we moved to online, there was quite a mix. It took a while to get especially some of our older competitive players to come online. And so some of our more competitive members played in other clubs. One of the disappointing things I think a number of competitive players have found is the lack of directors requiring players to have some sort of system card or profile, so that when you're playing online, you've got no idea what system someone is playing. And even if they give a brief breakdown, like say Standard American or 2/1 or something, they tend to never put in their signals and leads. And I personally find that disappointing. Our club had a strong culture of encouraging people to have a system card at the table that you could look at.
Yeah, well, I think we see the same very much here. To some extent, it almost feels like in the rush to get online, we failed to educate people that these things were needed.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
and this was really a slip in the early days. I'm hoping that the behaviour will gradually improve, and I'm engaged in trying to help people improve on that. But it is a hill to climb.
Yeah, I haven't seen any attempt to encourage people to create a convention card for online or to have a profile. So we often play against people that have absolutely nothing in their profile, and also obviously new players are not that great on alerting, but there hasn't been much education on helping people online understand how it's different, because online you alert your own bids, yes. and that you don't write it to the table, you write it into the bid.
The opponent's chat.
Yeah, so that sort of educational part of competitive bridge, I think, as you say, has been let go just in the attempt to get people feeling comfortable about playing online. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so that's fine. I'm sure that's something we should pick up on. I want to just move on to the third question that we have. We've only got 6 minutes left. Actually, we're going to have to be very quick. And this is a question about the laws of the game, and a lot of the things we have built into the law book, I mean, have been very much built in to try and facilitate or to avoid problems in the face-to-face game. So you see a lot of things that to me become totally irrelevant for the online game, like, you know, I think it's Law 9 says you've got to keep the board on the centre of the table. Of course, hey, that doesn't matter. And a lot of the issues that the laws address are really there to try and minimise the knock-on effect of unauthorised information in a face-to-face context. But that means they're not ideal for the online world. Do you want to talk again about this, Milan?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say that everything, like in here, all the questions are related to each other. And one of the things which like the bigger clubs can do is to separating people according to the levels, and maybe have like moving on, or having the motivation to improve to the next level. Which is very tough in the small clubs. But now having the online games, this is way more easier, because you can connect people from more clubs nationally or internationally. And if we have these like different groups, you can set up different rules for those games, because some players will be intimidated that some players play just too long, or they don't have their system set up and stuff, but they might not know anything about that. And all players are combined in the same tournaments, playing and facing each other. And that's what I experienced in the US, in the ACBL at the tournaments, that they're trying to split the levels. And you have also like different systems which allows that. So that's what's happening already in the live events in the big countries. So I think this is really a good thing for the future, to have such online competitions based on various levels, system adjustments, and also time. Because for some players, 5 minutes per hand will be enough. For some, 15 won't be enough.
Mm. Right. Any more thoughts on that? Anybody, I guess, feel uncomfortable with the way we, I mean, it's almost like when you build a set of laws and then you build a set of regulations around it. There's a danger of having one set for the online game and one set for the face-to-face game, and that's in the sense that if you do that, you begin to encourage a split of the community. That doesn't feel a good thing for the game.
What you mentioned before about the alert procedure,
Indeed,
I think it's a big advantage online, the way we do the alert online, because you're not telling your partner. You get a little bit of an inference because your partner takes longer to bid typing in the alert, but you're not waking up your partner, so it's
Absolutely.
actually an improvement.
It is a very positive improvement, and one that, to me, helps the purity of the game. Right, let me move on to the fourth question in the last few minutes that we've got, which is really trying to pick out the major issues, you know, that are facing online bridge in the future. And we have picked up that fact of education, and people's I think haven't been groomed in the etiquette that makes it run smoothly, so they're not used to doing the right things in terms of full disclosure of their system. Come on, so somebody pipe out. Any worries about the future of online? Is it just going to stay in 5 years' time the same way as it is today? No thoughts? I mean, let me offer this. I mean, it was curious to hear Jan making his comments about the World Championships and the European Championships, how all the requests were for making these things face to face. I can't help wondering if that's beginning to push online back into a second-class form of the game. That doesn't feel good. There's an element of the feedback that Jan was giving, I mean, was coming from people who have spent the past 30 or 40 or 50 years tuning their abilities to play face-to-face bridge. So you might well expect that as they do feedback what they want, it's actually it's a return to that in which they're comfortable. But there is a question about how do we maintain respect for the online game and treat it with the right level of seriousness as we go forward.
One advantage, living in New York City, I can play against top players in New York City area. But we have a country home, which is a few hours from New York City. And there I would not be able to play with strong players. Now that I've been playing more online, I can still keep my New York City partners while I play while I'm at the country home. So that's a definite advantage from their playing online. And when I'm in the New York City area, play in New York City.
Well, that's the point. So, and that's the question is, how is that good enough for everybody?